11 time zones, exploding lakes, and bears in places you'd never expect. If you think your country's weird, Russia's out here breaking the rules of logic and geography. Number 50, the land of the rising and setting sun. Russia is big, like really big. When the sun rises in Moscow, it's already clocking out in Vladivostok. The country's so wide, it needs 11 time zones, tied with the US. It seems like the Cold War wasn't enough. Now they're competing over sunsets. Number 49, that's a crowded neighborhood. Russia borders 14 countries. 14! That's not the Soviet bloc, that's a bloc party. And every single one of them's a little twitchy. Can you blame them? It didn't used to be that way. Only 4, China, Mongolia, North Korea, and Norway, were never part of Russia's starter empire. Everyone else stamped, conquered, and returned slightly traumatized. Number 48, one of Russia's borders stands out though. It's the one with Kazakhstan, all 4,700 miles of it. More continental commitment than boundary. It's longer than the radius of the Earth, and somewhere out there, one poor guy is still putting up road signs. Number 47, Russia's strangest border, the one with the US. It runs between Big Diomede and Little Diomede Island, just 2.5 miles apart. If you cross that gap, congratulations, you just time traveled. The islands are separated by the international dateline, so there's a 20-hour difference between them, meaning Big Diomede is living in tomorrow, while Little Diomede's still stuck in the past. Like half of Williamsburg, but with less artisanal coffee. So, if you ever wanted to celebrate New Year's twice, no problem. Pop champagne on Big Diomede, wait a few hours, hop in a boat, and do it all over again. But Russians don't actually have to do that, and you'll find out why later on. Number 46. Only 2.5% of the world's water is freshwater. 20% of that unfrozen freshwater sits right here in Lake Baikal. That's more than all of North America's Great Lakes combined, like nature's Brita filter. And China wants it. Desperately. The tourists are flooding in. Flooding? Get it? Never mind. They're calling it by its old Chinese name. Even China's official maps have started doing it. Always a good sign. Chinese companies are eyeing the place for bottling plants and pipelines. The locals are getting nervous because it used to be Chinese territory. I'm not going to mention the irony there. Number 45. About 75% of Russia's territory is Siberia. 5.1 million square miles of no thanks. And there's only one road, the Trans-Siberian Highway, 6,800 miles from St. Petersburg to Vladivostok, the third longest road in the world. It also doubles as a test of sanity. The loneliest roads in America? They look like rush hour compared to this. Out here, you're the traffic. You can drive for days without seeing another human being. Just trees. Endless trees. And the occasional bear wondering if his Meals on Wheels just arrived. If you plan to camp, bring mosquito repellent. Industrial grade. Because the bugs here don't bite, they draft you for blood donation. Number 44, a never-ending journey. Russia's got 23,400 miles of coastline. Impressive, right? Until you realize most of it's above the Arctic Circle. Great for polar bears, terrible for shipping. So Russia's been chasing the Holy Grail, a warm water port. Sevastopol in occupied Crimea? Sure, if you like your trade routes held hostage by Turkey. Vladivostok, frozen half the year and boxed in by Japan. Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky doesn't freeze, but good luck building roads on a volcano farm. And Murmansk, ice-free, yes, until Iceland, Greenland, and the UK decide to play Block the Russian. Russia has all the coastline in the world, and nowhere to go swimming. Number 43. Peter the Great dragged Russia out of the Middle Ages. And what's a modern empire without a shiny new capital? So, in 1703, he built one, St. Petersburg, on a swamp that belonged to Sweden. City planners everywhere collectively screamed into their blueprints. Oh, and he drafted anyone with 2 hands. Peasants, nobles, and a few people who were just walking by, and made them build it. By 1712, with war raging, he moved his entire court there anyway. Why? Location, location, location. Right on the Baltic. perfect spot if you ignore the mud disease and the 30,000 people who didn't survive construction. Modernization with a mass grave for a view. Number 42, another man's dream. This is Kaliningrad. Before World War II, it was Königsberg. Then Stalin did some house cleaning. And by house cleaning, I mean cleaning out all the Germans and redecorating with Russians. Little less feng shui, a lot more tanks. Now it's Russia's westernmost chunk of land. A heavily armed souvenir shop sitting in the middle of Europe, technically on the Baltic. Practically behind everyone else's gates. Still, no warm water port though. Just a fortress with seasonal depression. And speaking of, if you like these videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. My self-esteem is flatter than the Netherlands. Number 41. Russia has more natural resources than anyone else on Earth. $75 trillion worth of the stuff. Oil, gas, gold, rare earth metals, the kind that make your phone buzz and your future AI girlfriend purr. Even uranium, for when that relationship gets serious. There's just one tiny problem. Russia is terrible at logistics. All that wealth is sitting underground, so it's trapped there. The world's biggest treasure chest with no key. So far, we've found out Russia is spanning time zones, scaring neighbors, and hoarding half the planet's resources. And there's still a lot more facts to come. Number 40, a land of extremes. Russia got big for one reason: to stop invasions. So it expanded to the Ural Mountains. Not exactly the Alps, more like slightly taller hills. Still, they became the border between two very different Russias. 80% of the land lies east of that line, but 80% of the people live west of it. It's like Russia tried to colonize itself and then forgot to show up. The Far East is loaded with resources, basically El Dorado with frostbite, yet it only makes about 5% of the GDP. It's so empty, a third of the people have left since the Soviet Union fell. At this rate, Mars might get developed first and have better Wi-Fi. I've talked about Russia's extreme geography, but the map is only the starting point. Just wait until you see the inhabitants of one very unique island. Number 39, Iceland shouldn't be called Iceland. That's false advertising. Siberia deserves that name. Only Antarctica gets colder. 2/3 of Siberia's land is permafrost, permanently frozen, year-round. Even summer just shows up, shrugs, and leaves. But that's changing, and it's causing a lot of headaches. More at number 33. Number 38, there's one place in Siberia that stands out even by its standards: Oymyakon. It's the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth. The record low was -89.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not weather, that's revenge. Here, winter isn't a season, it's a sentence. Trucks can't stop or they'll freeze solid. Engines run nonstop, burning fuel just to stay alive. Turn one off, and you've got yourself a very expensive ice sculpture until spring. Number 37, even by Siberian standards, Kolyachin Island is in the middle of nowhere. Even in the summer, it barely hits 41 degrees Fahrenheit. Residents left after the Soviet Union collapsed and the weather stations shut down in 1992. And then the bears moved in. A reverse Goldilocks. They used the abandoned buildings for shelter. Drone footage from September showed them lounging inside, and they don't even pay rent. But not all Siberian bears are so lucky, or so well rested. Number 36. Rising temps in Siberia have the bears all confused. They're supposed to hibernate around Halloween, but the weather didn't get the memo, so now they just wander, half asleep, half awake, full nightmare. As if Siberia wasn't scary enough already. Warmer temperatures are making life harder for more than just the bears. Number 35, in Siberia, the cold's actually a city's best friend. Weird, right? Take Norilsk, second largest city north of the Arctic Circle. Population, about 175,000 people who apparently need to be asked about their life choices. Melting permafrost means buildings are tilting, roads are cracking, and the ground's quitting its job entirely. It's less urban planning and more slow-motion landslide. Number 34, welcome to Yakutsk. It's the coldest major city in the world. Not quite Oymyakon cold, but close enough to regret being alive. Average winter temperature, negative 43.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Its 355,000 residents actually have it better than Norilsk. The permafrost here runs deep, 4,900 feet deep, but even that can melt. So engineers had to get clever. It took the Soviets 3 tries to figure it out. Now the whole city stands on stilts, a frozen version of Venice. No scenic canals, though. They'd freeze before the gondola left the dock. Number 33, beach party, anyone? Verkhoyansk sits north of the Arctic Circle, where the air usually freezes before your thoughts do. Temperatures don't climb above zero until May, but then came something that happens maybe once every 80,000 years, a Siberian heat wave. Temps ran 41 degrees Fahrenheit above normal, at one point 50 degrees Fahrenheit higher than average. The result, Verkhoyansk hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Arctic, the locals didn't know whether to panic or barbecue. Number 32, peatlands are where plants go to die, and then just kinda stay there. Too cold, too wet, too lazy to decompose. Basically, nature's compost pile on pause. Cold, wet, and sulking. But now Siberia's heating up. The peat dries, turns to tinder like the back of a matchbook. You know, if the matchbook were the size of France. One spark, and the whole thing goes off like nature's own gas stove. The smoke carries for thousands of miles. And people in New York complain about a little Canadian haze. Cute. Number 31. Siberia's warming about 2.5 times faster than the rest of the planet. Swamps, lakes, sinkholes, all popping up where solid ground used to be, outside the village of Mai. Football fields now rise and fall like something breathing underneath. Turns out, for Siberians, the extreme heat might be worse than the cold. At least the freeze just kills you. The thaw takes its time. So we've learned that Russia is made up of frozen cities on stilts to zombie bears and lakes that appear out of nowhere. And the best facts are yet to come. Number 30. In 2017, scientists found something bubbling under Siberia, methane. A whole lot of it. Around 7,000 gas bubbles trapped beneath the tundra. Locals have even walked on them, watching the ground wobble like a bouncy castle from hell. Fun until you remember that methane is flammable. And it gets worse. Those bubbles are twisting the landscape, popping open sinkholes the size of apartment buildings. Methane is 86 times stronger than carbon dioxide. So yeah, Siberia is basically sitting on a giant, invisible whoopee cushion of global warming. Number 29, the Russian Empire once stretched from Europe to Asia to North America. But Alaska, more ice than income. Then came the bill for the Crimean War. Russia needed quick cash, so in 1867, they sold Alaska to the US for $7.2 million. Pocket change, about $162 million today. Or in Moscow terms, one oligarch's yacht upgrade. Then came gold. Then oil. Then the US military. Suddenly, that useless icebox looked like a jackpot now. And now, with hindsight, and hindsight's billions, Russia's probably wishing it had kept the receipt. Number 28. Russia started as an imperial project, and honestly, it never really stopped. 81% of the country's ethnically Russian, but there are 185 groups total, speaking over 100 languages. The Federation even recognizes 21 ethnic republics, each with its own official language. It's less a country, more Duolingo on steroids. Less annoying owl, more nukes. Number 27. The Soviet Union loved to brag about its diversity. So in the 1920s, it came up with a genius idea: the Jewish Autonomous Oblast. Great concept, terrible execution, because, of course, they put it in Siberia. At its peak in the 1940s, the region was 25% Jewish. Then, people started leaving. Can't imagine why. By 2021, only 837 Jewish residents remained, because the Soviet version of a Jewish homeland was minimalistic. Their checklist? Bagels, Yiddish, and frostbite. Number 26. There are about 488 million Buddhists in the world, but only one Buddhist region in Europe, the Republic of Kalmykia. In Russia, less enlightenment, more wait, how did that happen? The Kalmyks were nomads from Mongolia who wandered west and somehow ended up in the Volga. Long trip, wrong turn, and then Stalin showed up. And as usual, things went south fast. He deported them to Siberia because that's what Stalin did when he ran out of bad ideas. They were finally allowed to come back after he bit the dust. Reincarnations faster. Number 25. On the outskirts of Elista, there's a neighborhood built entirely around chess. They called it Chess City. Original. It was built for the 1998 Chess Olympiad, and sure, it's got all the essentials: a chess museum, a massive outdoor board, there's even a Buddhist museum for when you lose to a 12-year-old grandmaster and need to find inner peace. But these days, it's less bustling city, more rook and ruin. A ghost town with a theme. The locals just call it what it is: a checkmate in financial planning. Number 24, back to Norilsk. It's also Russia's most polluted city. The Daldykan River once ran red, proper Old Testament stuff. And then there's the blue fog that burns throats. Some of the other gases probably taste better. And remember, this is above the Arctic Circle. Cold, dark. Norilsk started as one of Stalin's gulags, built to mine nickel. Soviet propaganda called it a model of socialist progress. In reality, it was misery with a marketing department. Number 23. On October 30th, 1961, the Soviets decided to nuke the Arctic. The weapon of choice? The Tsar Bomba. 50 megatons of TNT. That's not a bomb. That's a temper tantrum with a blast radius. It was 1,600 times stronger than Hiroshima and Nagasaki combined. 10 times more than all the conventional weapons of World War II. Wooden houses vanished 100 miles away. Windows shattered 500 miles out. The mushroom cloud? 7 Everests tall. The sky literally had a bad day. The fun part? That was the small version. It was designed for 100 megatons, but the Soviets decided, maybe not end civilization today. Just scare it a little. Number 22. The Tsar Bomba was surprisingly polite. Almost all fusion, barely any fallout. But not every nuke was so considerate. The communist authorities still needed somewhere to stash the leftovers. So, in the 1950s, they picked a spot. Lake Karachay in the southern Ural Mountains. Scenic, peaceful, perfect, if you're radioactive sludge. Then they added waste from the nearby Mayak nuclear plant. Because why ruin one place when you can ruin two? Result? Spend an hour here and it'll be your last. 10 minutes and you'll start glowing. 5 and you'll wish you weren't. Number 21. Stalin did more than build gulags and nukes. He also built an escape plan, the deluxe version of paranoia. He called it survival. Everyone else calls it Metro 2 or D6, if you want to sound like a Bond villain. It's supposedly a secret subway system under Moscow. It connects bunkers, tunnels, and government buildings, an underground city with no mole people, just VIPs. If the nukes ever flew, Stalin wouldn't duck and cover. He'd just take the subway to the apocalypse penthouse. Now we know that Russia has exploding tundra to radioactive lakes and secret subways. It's like the country went full Bond movie, just without the tuxedos, gadgets, or a happy ending. Ready for some more ridiculous Russian facts? Number 20, the Bolshevik clock. Stalin loved to claim his place in the revolution. The myth, the drama. If Instagram had been around, he'd have taken a selfie. Probably midwinter palace raid. #glorious leader, #no-filter. But here's the thing. When the Bolsheviks stormed the Winter Palace, he wasn't there. This clock was. It froze at 2:10 a.m., October 26, 1917, the revolution's timestamp. That clock stayed dead for a century, 100 years of frozen history. Then, one day, the Hermitage Museum restarted it. The revolution happened, but it's over, said the director. Bold words, like tempting fate in a country that collects revolutions like souvenirs. Time moved again, which in Russia is always risky. And if you think history is weird, wait till you see the culture. You won't believe number 15. Number 19, a peculiar minister. By December of 2020, the world had seen enough chaos. Pandemics, protests, murder hornets. But Russia said, hold my vodka. A cat was found abandoned in Ulyanovsk. So what did the local Ministry of Environment do? The only logical thing, they made it a government official. Deputy Minister of Environment. Office, probably less corruption too. Some countries rescue cats. Russia gives them job titles. Number 18. The old Winter Palace doesn't just have a revolutionary clock. It's got cats too. About 70 of them. The OG staff. Legend says Empress Elizabeth brought them in back in 1745, maybe to hunt mice, maybe just for emotional support during coups. Either way, they stayed through revolutions, invasions, and probably a few Tsar-level meltdowns. One cat, Achilles, became famous for fortune-telling. During the 2018 World Cup, he correctly predicted the winners of the first 4 matches. A furry oracle with attitude. You can even adopt one of the palace cats online. Not Achilles, though. He's retired. Probably day trading and ignoring your calls. Number 17, we're still not done with Russia's working cats. Meet Marai, resident of the Serpukhov Museum of History and Art, a part-time legend. In April of 2016, the museum's Instagram announced that Marai had applied for a job, paw print signature and everything. It was an April Fool's joke, except nobody got the joke. Locals demanded the museum actually hire him, so they did. Marai became the official doorman, clocking in 9 to 5, greeting visitors, judging them silently. His salary? Caviar, which, let's be honest, is worth more than the ruble, and twice as stable. Number 16. The Winter Palace clock stopped in October because Russia was still using the Julian calendar in 1917. They didn't switch to the Gregorian one until the next year. So technically, the October Revolution happened on November 7th. Time zones, calendars, reality. Russia's been arguing with all of them ever since. And there's an epilogue to that little mix-up. Russians still celebrate Old New Year on January 14th. Not official, but very real. Christmas trees stay up, families feast, the holidays just refuse to leave. When it's that cold outside, no one's kicking them out. Number 15, the Soviet Union might be gone, but the spirit of overreach, alive and well. In 2011, the Eurasian Customs Union banned clothing with less than 6% cotton. Sounds harmless until you realize what that means. No more lace underwear. Starting in 2014, breathable fabric became state policy. The reasoning? Health risk. Apparently, the Kremlin just wants your skin to breathe. Very thoughtful, very creepy. Some women were even arrested for wearing the wrong kind. Actual underwear arrests. The law's not strictly enforced, though, probably because enforcing it would turn Russia into the world's largest Victoria's Secret bonfire. Number 14, Peter the Great went undercover in Europe. Literally. Fake name, bad accent, the whole thing. He studied medicine, shipbuilding, and fashion. Sure, Russia's biggest problem was its wardrobe. When he came back, he decided the beards had to go. Russia couldn't move into the future while everyone looked like background characters from Lord of the Rings. The nobles had to shave or pay up several hundred rubles a year. A couple of dollars on today's money, a bargain for hipsters everywhere. But the Orthodox Church hated it. A military division revolted, said they were defending the Christian faith. Peter said they were defending bad grooming habits. And then he crushed them. Talk about an overreaction. Number 13, this is the Motherland Calls statue. In Volgograd, it's 279 feet tall, weighs 8,000 tons, and looks like she's about to ground someone for losing a war. Even Lady Liberty would look over and say, okay, chill. At certain times of the year, the sun lines up perfectly in her hand, like she's trying to high-five God. The other hand, always raising a sword, just in case someone forgets what happened here. Locals keep her in perfect shape, because if an 8,000-ton Soviet mom collapses, she's taking half the neighborhood with her. The ultimate Karen. Number 12. Russia's Cyrillic script has more drama than a royal family. It's named after a Byzantine theologian, Cyril. His brother helped, but got friend-zoned by history instead. The goal? Keep Latin Catholicism out of the East. And it worked. The Orthodox Church loved it. Monks did the writing, so Cyrillic became Russian. Then Peter the Great showed up, history's most intense DIY enthusiast. He didn't scrap it, just remodeled it, added Latin flair, Gave it that European but make it Russian glow-up. 2 centuries later, Lenin pulled a Marie Kondo. He cut 35 letters down to 33. If it didn't spark literacy, it didn't survive. He even confiscated the old typefaces. Not personally, of course. He outsourced that. Dictators delegate. Number 11. As the first millennium ended, Prince Vladimir I of Kyiv had a problem. Too many gods, not enough PR. He was a happy pagan. Multiple wives, constant drinking, and zero guilt. But monotheism was trending, and Vladimir didn't want to be the last influencer without a brand deal. Greek orthodoxy caught his eye. Grand ceremonies, shiny domes, top-tier aesthetics, plus his grandma Princess Olga had already joined. So Vladimir converted, married the Byzantine emperor's sister, got religion and an empire upgrade. Russia's been orthodox ever since. So, Russia builds statues tall enough to high-five God, is dramatic enough to rebrand its alphabet twice, and religious thanks to one guy with commitment issues and a thing for shiny domes. And now, it's time for the top 10. Number 10. Almost a third of cars in Moscow have dash cams. The result? Endless clips of chaos. Meteors, moose, and physics taking the day off. All caught on camera. Why so many dash cams? Because in Russia, every road trip is a boss level. Icy roads, drunk drivers, cops who think traffic stop means ATM withdrawal, insurance companies that sell their own grandmothers for a ruble. So, drivers film everything for safety, for evidence, for YouTube glory. No word yet on whether Netflix is planning Russian dashcam diaries, but the footage writes itself. Number 9. Does this look like a rave? Well, it's not. No techno, no glow sticks, just a salt mine outside Yekaterinburg. The patterns come from a mineral called carnallite, proof that a long-dead sea once partied here and never cleaned up. The mine's off limits to the public, so if you sneak in without a permit, you won't get fined. You'll get exhibited in a glass box in Moscow, 1,000 miles west. The world's least fun souvenir. Number 8. In Moscow, there's a strange building from the 1970s. Gray, blocky, aggressively Soviet. But up top, pure fever dream. A tangle of metal wires that shimmer in the sun. People call them the brains, probably because construction workers kept complaining about headaches. So, locals did what locals do best. Assumed it was a mind control device to turn everyone in Moscow into zombies. Naturally. These days, the brains are a restaurant. It's fancy, overpriced, and somehow still less terrifying than the original theory. Number 7. The Yusupov Palace in St. Petersburg has a weird room. Beautiful, historic, slightly cursed, and this is where Russia's most deranged dinner party took place. World War I was going south. Tsar Nicholas II was taking advice from Rasputin, a man who radiated tinfoil hat energy before tinfoil existed. So, Prince Yusupov invited him over for a chat, with cake and cyanide. Then came the bullets, the stabbing, the beating. The guy wouldn't die, so they dunked him in the frozen Malaya Nevka River. Makes my family's Thanksgiving dinners look pretty civilized. From Russia's seemingly immortal mystic to its immortal nostalgia. Number 6. Putin's not the only one nostalgic for the good old Soviet days. In 2019, one leader hit a 70% approval rating. Joseph Stalin, the guy who died in 1953. Some say it's because Putin's government glorifies the Soviet past. Well, maybe. Nostalgia's easier when you crop out the famine. Number 5. Women in Russia live longer than men. Way longer. 79 years to 68 years in 2023. Mainly because they know when to stop drinking. Russian men drink around 18 liters of alcohol a year. Women, 6. Russian man does it again. And if you ask them, they'll say it keeps them alive longer. After all that vodka, it's only fair Russia has a healthier option. Number 4, Russia's other drink? Juice. Straight from the tree. The forest's Gatorade. People literally stick straws into birch trees and sip. Each one can give up to 5 pints a day. Nature's vending machine. Good for the heart, good for the blood vessels, and terrible for tree huggers. Fact number 3, the Russian bear. A nickname, a mascot, for Putin's political party and apparently a lifestyle choice. In Russia, it's not illegal to keep a bear as a pet. The government has tried to ban it, but who's arresting the guy with a bear? Okay, it's unlikely you're going to walk into a Moscow apartment and see one on the couch, but it's possible. Number 2. You don't have to go to Egypt to see a mummy. The Soviet Union that Lenin built is long gone, but the man himself is still there, in a glass box, in Red Square, like a communist action figure nobody asked for. A team of scientists still works to keep him looking fresh, and he's not alone. They do the same for Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam and the Kims in North Korea, an international club for guys who couldn't take rest in peace seriously. And finally, fact number 1. In Russia's Far East, there's a road called the Road of Bones. Catchy name and a terrible backstory. It was by Gulag prisoners, with more bodies than asphalt. Then a mining town sprung up. Katikchan, coal, frostbite, and despair. The holy trinity of Siberian living. By 1998, only 500 residents were left. Then the government pulled the plug. Literally, they cut the power and forced everyone out. Ghost town status unlocked. But just down the road sits Tomtor, one of the planet's richest rare earth deposits. Now Putin wants to dominate the rare earth market. Maybe the lights in Katikchan might come back on. Rebooting a haunted mining town seems like a great idea. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on MapPack.